membership thing, so.
Yes. How are you? For a minute, yeah. We're still kind of getting set up, but you're welcome to come hang. How are you?
Membership is on the iPad. If you want to, you should answer any questions. It's like this. I've always been some savings money for the library. Yeah. I have the website up there.
Yes.
It's pretty easy to like. Maybe if I just send you this link, let me see if it shows it, maybe you. Actually, maybe I can see more.
Do we need to call? Okay, okay. See, I'm so confused about having, okay, that, I just wanted clarity on that. How many of those are we supposed to have annually?
Oh, I was right.
Okay. And are they, will they all be combined? solid
To
waste
my
in.
knowledge, the combination is temporary until they can get everything straightened out.
So essentially we'll have 2 tree limb and 2 heavy trash.
Eventually.
Okay,
That's
okay.
the
that-
goal is to get
Okay,
that.
I just wanted to know what the protocol was. So right now, though, these are the city-run operation. You don't need to call it in. It's just okay.
As of right now, you don't need to call any of it in. It's supposed to be just picked up.
Okay, and it's the same, consider, what is it, the eight cubic?
That part does not change.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Did you?
I think I emailed it to you. I couldn't get the exact image because it didn't want to download for whatever reason. So it might be just a link to the actual QR. Let's see, August 3rd, it would have been.
I
No.
also created a whole bunch.
Oh,
so
that's your account. So like I said, it'll be in my account. Oh, it would be for, yeah, for ECA.
Man, come on, come on. This right now. See if I can. See if it'll. Come on, just let me go.
Okay, I think I can tell you that. Right here we go. I also think I just emailed it to you. The actual URL. Oh.
All right.
That goes to this. Understand. This goes in the, the back, then the back. Only 105 degrees outside.
Cool. Turn off our 80s music.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, how are you? Did you want to say hello?
No, I just want to.
Sure. Okay. Just making sure. I think that's. Okay. Never mind, sorry. Oh, so. You're good.
Check, chickity check. Speaker just a
Sure,
little bit
that's fine.
further away so I can get some.
Sure. All right, y'all, we're gonna get started in just a second. We're working out our PA system, so if you could just hang on just a few more minutes.
Are you on, Lance?
Is it on? I don't know. Oh, that's on.
You're on.
Perfect. Yeah, we're gonna get started in just a couple minutes. We're just working out a couple of technical things here.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Kyle. That was a lot of work and it's really hot outside. Y'all don't know he had to go get the system. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with our meeting. So I don't know if you can see it. I know it's a little bit bright in here, but we will do our call to order, introductions, meeting agreements. It's nothing different. We're gonna have some words from our elected officials, our treasurer's report, secretary's report. Then we're gonna walk through some membership dues information. Then we're gonna hear from Strong Towns Houston, some safety updates, and then we will have announcements from there. So with that, this is your first time to an Eastwood Civic Association meeting. You want to raise your hand? Nice, welcome. We hope that this meeting is so helpful and informative that you come back. So with that, as part of the Eastwood Civic Association, we do try to have meeting agreements. Sometimes conversations go in directions that we don't expect. So we always want to assume positive intent. We're all doing the best we can with what we have. So we avoid blaming others in our conversations. We speak with respect, refrain from profanity, we want to use people's names, pronouns, be sensitive to different communication styles, be critical of the problem, not the person. We want to create solutions, not enemies. It's okay to disagree. Ponder what you hear and feel before you speak. Trust ambiguity. We're not here to debate who is right and wrong. And be mindful of time because we have a lot to cover as always. Is there anything else we should add? Perfect. Okay. So we are going to hear first from State Representative Christina Morales.
Thank you. Wow, I am so excited to be here. It's been a little while. And I love your new space and your fearless leader here talks to my office regularly that I feel like I know everything that's going on here. I want to leave it open for questions because there's so much I could talk about legislatively, and a lot happened during the last legislative session. We broke quorum, all that stuff. But I wanted to let you know that this coming weekend is tax-free weekend. So be sure and Google the list. If you have children who are going to school, this is a great time to take advantage of buying things that they might need for school. We are having 2 events that we're co-hosting in the north side. So if you don't know, our district stretches all the way from Park Place and 45, all the way up north to like Airline, and it takes in the Heights as well. So it's a huge, very diverse district with everybody has a different priority. And so this time around, our events will be taking place in the north side, one at the MD Anderson YMCA, which is on Cavalcade. We're going to be giving out free backpacks and school supplies to the first 250 people. And then we're partnering with Centerpoint, and we're doing on the same day another event at the Department of Education at 6300 Irvington Boulevard. There's as I mentioned earlier, there is a lot that's going on in the Texas legislature. We had redistricting. You are still, I think the majority of you are still in District 18, but anything that's south of like the Wayside area and going that way has now moved into District 9. A lot of folks have been confused about that, and you won't be represented by the people you vote for in those areas until January. So it's incredibly confusing because you voted for that person maybe in the primary and you're going to vote for them in November, but they won't be sworn in until January. And that's when you'll actually be represented by the new lines that were passed. But with that, I want to open it up to any questions that you might have, or if anybody just wants to make a comment or tell me what is going on in this community. You have such a great leader that we talk regularly. But if there's something else that you think I need to be aware of, anyone? If I haven't been here to the meeting, I'll just end with this. It's because I am currently chairing our House Democratic Campaign Committee. And whatever side of the aisle that you're on, we do need some accountability because it's been led by one party for 30+ years. And so one thing that I'm doing is I'm going around the state and helping candidates win certain seats where people felt like they don't have a voice right now. AI data centers is a really hot issue. Public education is another hot issue because we gave $1 billion to our private schools, and people are calling us because their schools are being closed, or they can't afford to send their kids to private schools. But also data centers, because we're in just a densely populated part of Houston, we may not see one next door, but I've been hearing, people have been coming to me and saying there might be one in Jacinto City popping up. I checked actually with our senator and she said, so far they're saying no. And so she's like, no, you know, we're keeping tabs on it, but those seem to be the big issues when I'm going around the state. But so grateful to be here. Thank you for having me. I'll stay here for a few more minutes, but I'll pop out soon. So if you want to tap me on the shoulder and talk privately, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. And we have Mason with Senator Alvarado's office. I don't know if you want to say hello. I just wanted to give you the space in case you do.
Hey, y'all, my name is Mason. I'm here from the office of your state senator, Joe Alvarado. I want to invite y'all to a health fair that we're going to be having in November. I know that's a ways off. It's going to be over at Ripley House. So come by if you're available on the 7th of November from 9 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. We'll be having diabetes screenings, mammograms, basic health screenings, all sorts of stuff, and it's all going to be gratis, free of charge. It's a great family event. So bring yourself, bring your kids, bring your significant others, bring your neighbors. All are welcome. Again, I'm Mason with the office of your state senator, Carol Alvarado.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Sally, I know that you're here. You want to say anything from District I? Nope. All right, well, Sally is here with District I in case you have any questions. We also, there is a career fair this Thursday that's coming up. There's also a few other items throughout the later of the month, but this week is the career fair with District I. And we also have Precinct 2, Maynard. You want to come say hello? Oh, we just got the budget survey. Maynard was passing out the budget survey for the county. It's important that you take part in that survey just so that you can make sure your county commissioner knows what's on your mind when it comes to our county dollars. So thank you so much, and be sure to take that survey. And finally, last but certainly not least, we have Precinct 6 here. Do you want to come say hello? Now y'all got maybe a big event tomorrow. I'm not sure.
Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Clark with Precinct 6, Constable Sylvia Trevino's office. Tomorrow, we have our largest event of the year. It's our National Night Out. It's a free event from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at our office, 5900 Canal Street. There's free food, free games, free music, free door prizes. We're doing backpack giveaway with school supplies for the children. There's a lot of events. We have a dunking booth, a rock wall for them to climb. You can come out and meet the officers, meet other vendors, meet our Judge Victor Trevino will be there, State Rep Ana Hernandez, many other elected officials. Commissioner Garcia is providing a cooling tent. It is very hot. It is in the parking lot. So there's a lot of partners in with this. Last year, we had over 2,000 people. It ran very smooth. So we hope to see you all there, 5900 Canal Street, for 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. tomorrow. All right.
Great, thank you so much. All right, I think I got all the elected officials, but I just want to double check. All right, I think I got it. Perfect. So then now I think we just seeing other, I don't see any candidates running for office, but we like to hold space in case there is anybody. Okay, perfect. Move on. So in our treasurer's report, our treasurer was unable to make it today. So we do have a total balance of $26,270.32. Our recent expenses are $761.49. Some of that just was because of projector purchase. We had been working on that so everybody can see. We had an iPad that we used to help gather information from residents at our various events. And then of course we have a password management system so that we can be safe with all of the information you have. and we earn $6.17 on our interest on our bank account. So, just a reminder that, I know, major thing. Yeah, so so just so y'all know, like these dollars do go to running the civic organization. It's as much as we try to keep it as low cost as possible, there are things that, that are very beneficial to y'all, the Zoom license, the website, all of the different things that we do, the events that we run, all those free tacos are not free, right? Somebody's paying for those. So that's and then of course, something that might be really meaningful to people who live in the deed restricted portion of Eastwood is that the Civic Association typically maintains those deed restrictions. And that is actually coming up, I would say in the next 10 years, which I know seems like it's far away, but you need to make sure that those dollars are in the bank so that we can pay for those deed restrictions to be maintained. So just making sure we kind of know why we're hanging on to that, right? It's not because we just like to hang on to dollars, right? We want to do what's best for the community. The community has asked us, this is what we want, so this is what we're doing. We did not have our meeting last month, but also we don't have a quorum, so we can't vote on these right now. So we'll have to go back to our secretary's report next month. So in terms of our president update, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hear from Catherine. And we're going to hear about reinstating membership dues. If you want to come on up, we'll go first. Move the slides, or you can?
You can do them.
That's fine. That's fine.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Catherine Santa Maria. I'm the secretary of the ECA board this year. And I have the dubious honor of presenting to you our plan to reinstate membership in the ECA. But this is something I'm very excited about because we have worked very hard to create a wonderful civic association and improve our neighborhood as much as we can. Next slide, please. So I'll talk about why we're doing this now, what are the benefits of membership, the two types of membership that we will have, and fees and what it takes to become a member. Next slide, please. So a little background, the ECA actually charged membership dues in the past, but they were suspended in 2020 during the pandemic. Well, the pandemic is over. That was 6 years ago. So the board has decided that in order to create another revenue stream, we would like to reinitiate dues in the Civic Association. It's also in our bylaws. We should be collecting dues. Again, we want to collect dues to add another source of revenue and to give us confidence moving forward that we can continue to be a great civic association for you so we can plan a little bit farther in advance for the things that we want to do for you. We also want to keep an accurate count of our membership. We want your feedback and we want to continue to grow. These all take some dollars to do. And yeah, so the proposed membership levels accommodate everyone. You will be able to participate at any level you would like. And every other civic club in the city collects dues, so we want to join that club.
I think we're the only one that doesn't.
Next slide, please. Benefits of membership.
All
You
right,
get
so standing in the way here.
communications in the Voice newsletter that's going to come out 3 times a year. You get news, updates, announcements. You can participate in our annual resident survey where we ask everyone to fill out a questionnaire to let us know what's important to you in our neighborhood. You can bring your questions, concerns, and opinions to monthly meetings. These are our meetings that we hold here every month, first Monday of every month in most situations. You're going to meet neighbors from across the 31 neighborhoods that the ECA covers. 31, that's a lot of people. We're a great organization because of our members, because of the people that support us across Greater Eastwood. You can also attend all of our sponsored events. Spring Fiesta, National Night Out, Kids Play Dates, coffees and conversations and all of that. And then if you are so excited, you can also join an ECA committee as long as the committee chair says it's okay. Very good chance they're going to say yes. You want to join the committee, they're going to say yes. Next slide, please. All right, here we go. We got 2 levels. Tier 1, community member. That gives you access to all the events I just mentioned. It gives you, again, the contribution to the survey,
access to news, participation on a committee. This is great for residents. This is great for elected officials. This is great for other civic associations. Y'all, dues, $0. That's right, $0. Next slide, please. Just let that hang there, $0. All you have to do to become a community member is sign up at any time. Your membership is 12 months from the time you register. We need your name, email, physical address, and maybe there's one other question in there. In residents, you are automatically opting into a community membership by attending an ECA meeting or event, but we will probably reach out to you at another time just to complete your information. We do ask that you acknowledge and abide by the bylaws of the ECA. And then I already mentioned that level. Next slide, please. Now we have tier 2. This is a voting member. Type 2 or tier 2 membership is all the benefits that I've already mentioned, all the benefits of community member. In addition, you get voting privileges in our annual ECA board election. This happens every December. You get to vote in the election. You can also get access to an absentee ballot. So if you want to vote in the election, but you're not going to be in town, we can accommodate you. We can get you an absentee ballot. Type or tier 2 members have an opportunity to co-chair a committee. So if you're super excited, you can co-chair a committee. You have voting rights and general motions brought to the board, and you're going to get a very special ECA decal. That's right, sticker. People love the stickers. I love the stickers. So the annual dues for a voting member, it is $20 for an individual for a 12-month period, or that 12-month period, or $45 for a household of up to 4 voting age adults. For example, if you're in a household with 2 adults and you have a 21-year-old living with you, that 21-year-old can vote also in the election as you can. You would do a household membership, $45. If you are in a household with 2 members and you have 2 5-year-olds, the 5-year-olds cannot vote in the election, but you can still have a $45 household membership. You know, you could even do $20. Each do a $20 membership if you want. We're pretty flexible on that. Oh, yeah. Man, they get 2 stickers, double stickers for the 5-year-olds. So becoming a voting member, very similar. In fact, it's the same to the community member. You sign up, you pay your dues. You'll get an email when your membership is up and you acknowledge and abide by the bylaws. And in November, you will be sent information on our board election that takes place in December. Next slide. I've mentioned this already. Very simple. Name, email. If you're a resident, if you're a business in Eastwood, the choice of membership you would like. Next slide. And if you are ready to support us today, either tier 1 or tier 2, this QR code is wrong.
No, this one's fixed.
Oh, the fixed QR code. There it is. We also have the
Link at the
link at the bottom of the email, and we will send this out to everyone here. Are there any questions?
So
Yes.
quorum, then from the time this initiates, then quorum will be comprised of voting members.
Need to confirm that with the bylaws.
Quorum of accepting, say, like the secretary's minutes.
Yes.
We will
Check.
look at for the.
I need to double check. I need to double check because I thought it said board members, but I need to double check.
Okay, I would.
For the
I was
election?
curious.
Yeah, for like elections and for like motions and voting.
What does quorum in,
Right.
constitute? Good question. We will get back to you on that. Oh, Kyle here.
But do the 12 people need to be voting? They're gonna vote. Okay, good enough.
Yes.
Unofficial parliamentarian. With
Yeah.
with the facts.
So the question was, what does quorum constitute when we have paying members? That means to vote on a motion or other club business, we need 12 voting members present, in addition to 3 board members. 3 of those 12, excuse me, 3 of those 12 need to be board members. See, this is the minutia that we get into at the Civic Association board level, because we're doing it right. Are there any other questions? If you have questions, please come see me. Please come see Emily, who did all of the work on the back end to get us set up. Thank you, Emily, and that is all.
Thank you. Right, next we are gonna hear from Ruben at Strongtown. So you want me to do the slide?
Yeah, if you could do the slide, that'd be great.
Why not? All right, let's roll.
Can y'all see that? It's a little faded, I know with the light, but can y'all see this? Because there's gonna be a lot of pointing and demonstrating here, so apologies if it's a little visually tough. Hi, everyone. My name is Ruben Garza. I'm what's called a local conversation leader for a group called Strong Towns Houston. We are the local chapter of the national nonprofit Strong Towns. I'm an attorney by trade, and you're gonna hear a lot of stuff about city planning, engineering, and construction. None of that is my background. But having said that, thanks to Strong Towns, I'm able to have some of these conversations with planners and engineers and city officials. So next.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, perfect. Does this also transition?
No, it doesn't switch, but you
Okay, but
you
I
can
can-
point.
Okay, great. So what is Strong Towns? So Strong Towns was founded by that guy in the middle. His name is Chuck Barone. He was a transportation engineer and he still is. He's a transportation engineer and urban planner, but he was with the Minnesota Department of Transportation. And he had a revelation where he would be, designing these, highway interchanges and working with city and local governments to kind of figure out, okay, well, the lane, you're gonna have to have this many lanes, they're gonna be this wide, and here's basically the bill for the maintenance, but hey, you're gonna get a really cool Walmart with a big parking lot. And while he was doing that, he's not an accountant, but he's got like this unhealthy obsession with numbers, and unhealthy is kind of a joke, but it's really important. But so he would look at these projects and figure out, okay, it's going to cost this much and it's going to generate this much in tax revenue. There's a shortfall. The tax revenue is not going to be able to pay for the maintenance on the roads, the maintenance for the utility and infrastructure for those developments and those businesses coming in, and honestly for the homes as well. So how is the government going to make up for that shortfall? And for the most part, they just told them, like, shut up, nerd, this is cool. Like, we're getting a big cool mall and we're getting a really cool like movie theater or convention center. So it'll be cool. It'll pay for itself. Don't worry. But that didn't happen. And so he was studying this really heavily, and then he was like, you know what, I'm gonna start an organization and I'm gonna point out this math problem. And that organization became Strong Towns. And so we have 3 books, which is actually sitting over by my bag right now. So the first book, it's called Strong Towns, Bottom-Up Revolution to Rebuild American Prosperity. Next book is called Confessions of a Recovering Engineer, where he talks about street design, safety standards, and how we basically have gotten it wrong for the past 70 years. And then the third book is called Escaping the Housing Trap. And he co-wrote that with a guy named Daniel Harages, who is now with an organization called the Parking Reform Network. And Escaping the Housing Trap is basically the Strong Town response to housing affordability and housing development. And so when framing this idea of economic development and that whole tax missing thing that I mentioned earlier, there's 2 ways to think about how the United States has developed. One is called traditional development versus the suburban experiment. Next. So in the traditional development pattern, this is a photo from Vancouver in the 1920s. And I said the United States, but really it was mostly North America. And parts of like New Zealand and Australia were doing this too. So anyway, in the traditional development pattern, you start off with just a city grid, street structure, yada, yada. But what's really interesting about this is that none of this community is planned out. Because normally when we do a development, we have a master planned community, we already know it's going to be commercial, and it's going to go here, the homes are going to go here, and it's going to be a big parking garage here, da, 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 da. But in the traditional development pattern, you just had plots, and wherever people set up, that's where you set up. Next. So we're going to take it back a little bit. So that was from the 20s, but this photo is from the early to mid 1800s. So in your cities, you start off with your urban core. That's your city hall, your church, your general store. Everything's all compact in one area. because that's just where it had to be, because cities didn't necessarily have the infrastructure capability to go extend out further into some far-reaching areas. They couldn't send water, road, pipe, sewer, because it was just too expensive. So they had to concentrate everything in the urban core. And so, you know, back in the day, you could park your horses on the side of the street. Stores were next to your homes and your businesses, all located within the urban core. Next. And so as you keep building and developing in that style, it's called incremental development. So your urban core, as it gets really more productive and your land values start to go up, there's not much you can really do with that area other than to, you know, scoot next door. Because again, if you go too far out, you can't extend, the city can't extend those utilities out there because it's just going to be too expensive and it's not going to be able to maintain itself in the long run. Is that making sense? Great. If at any point I'm not making sense, you know, shout it out. And so as you're developing incrementally upward, you're then going to have to develop incrementally outward. And over time, you start to see in a historical pattern, okay, great. This is that same urban corridor. Now we have streetcars that can connect us to our other areas of town. And that's how we have historic streetcar suburbs. Famously in Houston, the Heights is a historic streetcar suburb. So you can get from downtown to the Heights in a streetcar to connect you between places. And mind you, this area is still developing incrementally. Those old stores, those little shacks where people were parking their horses are now a little more advanced commercial operations. Next. So develop incrementally up and develop incrementally out. And then around like the early 20s, you start to see, okay, this little town square that had the church and the school and the city hall is now all of a sudden a thriving commercial area with also homes. Because again, what we now refer to as mixed use is just kind of how you built things back in the day. Your homes were close to your businesses because that's where they had to be. Cars weren't as prolific at the time. And things just had to be close to each other. And by the way, that was also from a financial productivity perspective, really beneficial because you have a lot of stuff that's close to each other that can pay for the utilities underneath, like the road, water, pipe, and sewer. Next. Then you kind of hit the apex of the traditional development pattern around the late 20s and the early 30s. But then we all know the Great Depression happened, and that hit the economy very hard. It hit the economy so hard to the point where what we learned in school is that the way that we got out of the Great Depression was World War II. Thank you, Ryan. Yes, World War II. So the way that we got out of the worst economic disaster in American history was to engage in a years-long billion-death conflict across 2 continents. That's not sustainable because that economy, that wartime economy, is productive, but again, you can't be in war forever. Though I think the United States is currently really testing that theory. So when the war ended, a lot of economists, including people that were advising President Roosevelt, President Truman, were saying, hey, the war is over. We're really afraid of backsliding into the Great Depression. What are we going to do? And by the way, also, we won the war and we didn't get bombed, unlike Japan and Europe and China. So we have like a lot of excess capacity to start building stuff. So what did we do? We spent a lot of money on the interstate highway system because that was the main way we were just going to start to connect our cities. And we had a lot of jobs. We had a lot of construction jobs, steel, old-fashioned blue-collar type jobs that we kind of tend to think of with like the 40s and the 50s came out of this era of spending excess capacity for economic development, which sounds great on paper. And it was for a bit because your GDP and all of your economic development numbers are going up, 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 up. And we're building these new towns out of scratch, single family homes, way out in the suburbs. Highways are connecting communities really, really far. Houston's a great example of this. But what happens to that urban core as you stretch things really far out? Next slide. You lose a sense of the urban core. This is a photo. And if you guys couldn't tell, all of those photos I was showing to here are of Houston. That old photo of the horses on in the old urban corridor, that was Main Street. This is all been Main Street in downtown Houston-ish. And then this is Houston in the 70s and in the 60s and 70s, where, okay, we've developed the interstate highway system. We are really dependent on automobiles and cars literally taking us to and from places. And well, because we've developed and grew so much out of the suburbs, we're gonna really have to compromise on our space here in the urban core. So all of those historic buildings then became parking lots. Next. So we've devastated quite a bit of our urban core, but something that's coming back, even to the point where this is an old photo, because this is now the Main Street pedestrian promenade. Next. But there's a lot of scars that still remain out of that era. I used to live in Southwest Ohio. This is Cincinnati. Similar urban corridor, homes, businesses, jobs, everything along here. You can see the old streetcar tracks. This is what that area looks like now. It is a feeder road. They don't say feeder in Ohio. They just say fine, it's like boring people. But this is a feeder road in Cincinnati, and there's the highway. This used to be the main hub for a lot of economic activity, and now it's empty. Next. I live in Fifth Ward. Fifth Ward's a great example of what happened of displacement because of highways and overspending on highway infrastructure. This is, I believe, Lyons and Jensen Avenue, actually not too far from where I live. Historically, it was kind of like a Harlem for Houston, well known for barbecue spots. There's a lot of music, very active areas. And then the highways came in and separated the communities, and then that area just went downhill. Next. So let's take, Lindsay, you can breeze through these pretty quickly, but let's just take a quick look at a mapping exercise of going through the traditional versus the suburban experiment. So mind you, and for context, Houston is a population of about 2 million. That's like the size of Manhattan, which is a little peninsula in New York. But we have this land mass that you can go to the 2000s.
Right.
Yeah. So since 2000, this is the city limits of Houston. This has 2 million people. This is 3 times the size of Chicago. That's a lot of road, water, pipe, and sewer that we have to pay for with a population that's barely a quarter of the size of New York City. Next. And so I talked a little earlier about this growth kind of like being a good thing on paper, and did it pay for itself? The answer is really no. Next. So this is a company called Urban3. They do these really cool data mappings for cities. And long story short, this is basically a city's profit loss map. So the black spikes pointing up represent where the buildings on top, the taxes that they pay can actually afford and is net positive for the infrastructure and utilities on the bottom. And to no one's surprise, and this was, by the way, was done in Lafayette, Louisiana in 2015. So to no one's surprise, these old urban corridors, areas that we would call mixed use or walkable or historic neighborhoods, those urban cores that I talked about at the very beginning, they're paying for themselves. But this red over here, way out, and by the way, this isn't like the parish or the county of Lafayette, Louisiana. This is city limits. This is huge for a relatively smaller town. All those red spikes pointing down are where the cost of utilities is more expensive than the taxes being paid by the buildings on top. Next slide. Similarly, they do these really cool data mappings where they show your most valuable land per acre. This is a Bexar County. So to no one's surprise, or for very valuable land, Canopy by Hilton is about $201 million per acre. This is the Walmart over in like the burbs part of Bexar County. It's about $0.7 million per acre. I want to make a very quick point here. I'm not anti-suburbs. I went to high school in Katy. I lived in the burbs. I get it. There's a reason why people like to move to the burbs. But if you are operating and governing a city, it's really tough to justify keep expanding out here to the suburbs and keep doing these developments out in the suburbs, when in fact your urban core is what's bringing in the bacon to pay for your infrastructure and paying for your road, water, pipe, and sewer. So when you think, it's like, well, why do the people in Spring Branch, I have friends in Spring Branch, get really nice stuff while I get nothing? It's because we think that the suburban development is somehow more valuable than what's inside the urban core, when in fact the opposite is true. People, roughly speaking, living within the 610 loop subsidize a lot of the stuff that happens outside of the 610 loop between the Beltway and even outside the Beltway. One other way to think about it is that your urban core, the walkable compact districts, that's your meat and potatoes. Suburbs are like your steak and lobster. If you have it, this is going to cost you a lot. Next. So these, this is called the finance decoder. Strong Towns put this together to kind of further sharpen the point on how expensive and how wasteful this suburban style development pattern has been. So there's a couple of charts here. You can take a look at strongtowns.org/decoder. In fact, Houston was the inaugural project for the decoder. So it basically takes your assets versus reliability. So where the city is making money and where the city is spending money and just compares them. It's hard to see here, but since 2025, as of 2025, Houston is about negative $15 billion on net financial position. And by the way, a lot of the money that's being talked about here, that's pre-committed. So any tax money that we're going to be bringing in and talking about in the next budget cycle, we've already committed a lot of money to stuff that we frankly can't pay for. And one thing that I like about the finance decoder versus the budget is just a snapshot in a single year. This finance decoder tells you this is an overall fiscal health check. So when we talk about balancing the budget, great, we did the job we needed to do for a single year, but we still have years and years of more work to do. I think as of 24, if the city of Houston balanced its budget for the next 90 years, we'd be at net financial position 0. That's a lot of work to do, and everyone knows how tough budget season is and how many compromises we have to make every single year. Next. Okay, so I'm going to go through the Strong Towns framework and some of our priority campaigns. Next. So here are the 5. We can look them up on strongtowns.org, but I'm going to talk about safe and productive streets and ending parking mandate subsidies. Next. Oh yeah, so all this talking is kind of like, all right, what's this point? Why should I consider listening to this organization? Well, listen, there's a great quote from Ernest Rutherford who famously said, "We haven't got the money, so we have to think." City of Houston, like most cities in the United States and in Canada, parts of Mexico, New Zealand, Australia, etc., we're broke. We've maxed it. The federal government gave us a lot of money, like kind of like a credit card to spend for highway development. We maxed out that credit card. Now it's time to pay the bills, and we're broke. So we got to figure out how to be a little more productive in our development. Next. So I'm going to talk about safe and productive streets. So Ian's not here, otherwise I would kind of poke fun at him. When you have traffic engineers and, highway engineers, et cetera, folks with TxDOT, Public Works, the commissioner's offices, et cetera, the county commissioners, you're going to hear a lot of terms about streets. There's arterial, principal arterial, local road, collector road, et cetera, et cetera. That's helpful to an engineer. I'm not an engineer. I find this a little more helpful. So Strong Towns has really a dichotomy of discussing streets. So first and foremost, there's a street. The street is a platform for building wealth and productivity. They're commonly characterized as being narrow, and they have wide sidewalks, and they accommodate not just cars, but also people. Cars tend to slow down here. Life tends to happen here. This is a photo from navigation. We all know how navigation gets busy during the weekends, but a lot of tax money comes from these safe and productive streets. All of that market activity on the weekends helps pay for our basic services. And then we have roads. Roads are high-speed connections between productive places. They're wide. They implement what's called a forgiving design. That just means that when you're, a little distracted or something happens, you can course correct. You don't crash into trees or people or houses, et cetera. So, a good example of a road is I-10 going to I have family in San Antonio. I-10 going to San Antonio, right out. Basically, when you leave Katy, you're not really dealing with commuter traffic. You're just making a straight shot over to San Antonio. Even there's a road, pretty good example of a road within city limits of Houston, Memorial Drive, when you're heading out west and going to, you're going through Buffalo Bayou Park. Again, not a lot of conflict points, not really dealing with other people, not dealing with pedestrians. They're all jogging alongside in the park. You're just going. And again, roads are productive, or connections between productive places. So that I-10 example is connecting Houston, San Antonio. That's a good road. Unfortunately, for a lot of what we see inside of the city, we have what are called stroads. They're like this weird street road hybrid. A good way to think of a stroad is that the stroad is kind of like the futon of transportation engineering, because a futon is a really bad couch that unfolds into a really bad bed. So it's trying to do two things, but it's bad at both of them. So in that sense, the Strode is trying to accommodate businesses and people, but at the same time, it's trying to make cars go fast. And it sucks at both. I'm gonna be very honest. There's a lot of discussion about Strodes, but we just don't really have I don't think too many people know about this terminology. Not to get too controversial here, but telephone road. That is an example of a Strode. There's a lot of businesses. It's a wide street, teeny tiny sidewalks. People are trying to cross and they get hit. And cars are also trying to go fast. There's a lot of Strodes in Houston. And in fact, that's why, the Washington Post named 2 streets in Houston as the most deadly in America for pedestrian fatalities. I think number 1 was Westheimer, a little outside the 610 loop. The other one was Farm to Market 1960. And also guaranteed, is anyone familiar with the high injury network? Lindsay? Okay, so the high injury network is basically a map of Houston streets, and the HIN is, I think it's like 7 or 8% of streets within Houston account for over 60 or 70% of deadly or fatal crashes, including between cars and people, cars and cyclists, etc. All of those on the high injury network, those are Strodes. They're trying to make cars go fast, and they're trying to have people just live their lives. Hard to do that. Next. So Strong Towns recommends you can convert a Strode into a street or a road. Can't have a Strode, gotta make that choice. Next. This is a quote from the Bible. Jesus was not a traffic engineer, but I like to use this in presentation. So the quote is that broad is the road that leads to destruction, narrow is the road that leads to life. Next. Ending parking mandates and subsidies is probably the big reason why I'm here. So next. Okay. Parking is expensive. It's really expensive. And not just the money you pay to park sometimes. A lot of the times we pay for parking or we don't pay for parking. It's free. I go to the grocery store. I try to look for a spot, like 8, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be free. But the problem with, not problem necessarily, but the thing with that is that a lot of that parking is really expensive. So, thanks to an organization called the Parking Reform Network, we now know that the average cost of just a surface parking lot, like those over there or across the street, those cost about $5,000 in construction, just in construction. In 2026, UCLA did a study of 17 peer cities, including, I think, like Austin, Miami, and a few other places. And they found that they actually updated some work from a guy named Donald Shoup, who I'll get to in a minute. But they found that for the average underground parking space, it cost about $73,000 per space. An above ground parking space, it costs about $52,000 per space. Mandated parking, we'll get to that in a second, accounts for about 30 to 40% of the total construction cost. So, we'll get to mandated in just a second. And again, parking isn't free. The Parking Reform Network has done some research, and roughly speaking, every $100, every $10,000 in construction costs is equivalent to about a $100 increase in your monthly rent, mortgage. It goes down to the cost of food, etc. Parking is a reason why a lot of stuff stays expensive. And as of, I think, 24, 25, Parking Reform Network estimated that solely due to construction costs and parking, people's rents go up by about $250 to $500 a month. Next. Okay, so I mentioned mandated parking. Cities, for some reason, put in their codes that if you want to build anything, you have to provide a certain number of off-street parking spaces. So that could be a lot, that could be a garage, that could be, or just a surface parking lot. So that sounds reasonable, right? No. No, because the math that they use to justify these ratios is junk science. And a guy named Donald Shoup in 2005 wrote a book called The High Cost of Free Parking. And it's a 750-page book just about parking. So, read at your own risk. I really like the book, but I understand it's not everyone's cup of tea. If you want to read something a little more entertaining that talks about parking, I would recommend a book called A Paved Paradise by a guy named Henry Raval. Really good book. So here's where it should basically describing the high cost of parking. So they assumed a relationship between floor space, land use, and parking, but there was no statistically significant relationship. Took stats, we'll know that the R squared value is an indicator of that. It was not good for a lot that, not just for the city of Houston, but also there's like a book that recommends off-street parking spaces in cities that are kind of lazy and they just copy from it. Houston is an example of that. And there's no relationship between floor space, land use, or parking. So for example, and this is the city of Houston's real code, by the way, you can look this up. Houston Municipal Code 26-492. If you want to build a bowling alley, you have to provide 5 spaces per lane. If you want to build a hospital, it's 2.2 spaces per bed. If you want to build a swimming club, it's 9 spaces per employee. And I always find that funny because it's employees as a when. So if I have like 5 employees, when they get the permit, I have to build that amount of parking, and then I hire like 3 more the next day. Does that mean I have to build more or less parking? I don't know. I got my permit, but I don't know. The most egregious one, and the one that I'm very serious about, is the bar space. If you want to open a bar in the city of Houston, you have to provide 14 parking spaces for every 1,000 square feet. That is how you wind up with teeny tiny bars and massive parking lots. That is a recipe for drinking and driving, and that has caused a lot of consternation and a lot of concern in cities around the country that are doing parking reform. Is that we don't want people drinking and driving, and the large parking lot, the small bar is a wide open door to let people do that. Listen, some people are going to drink and drive regardless, but as a city official and as somebody who cares about their community, I'm not a city official, excuse me. As if you are a city official, pause. And as for me, someone who cares about their community, I don't want anywhere in my code to encourage drinking and driving. The research was based for parking requirements, was based from like a really like older time period, and also from places that didn't matter, that were context, not helpful contexts. So it'd be like if you counted cars coming in and out of like a McDonald's in Katy. Again, I'm gonna pick on Katy because they grew up there. You can count cars coming in and out of McDonald's at Katy, and then all of a sudden be like, great, that's gonna be a fast food parking requirement for every place in the city of Houston. Just doesn't make sense. The other thing that's kind of funny is that parking minimums are based on observed maximum parking demand. And that's just a funny way of saying that to get a permit from the city of Houston, you have to build as much parking as the city thinks that you will have on Black Friday. Does that make sense? Right, yeah. Weird. And by the way, you go out to a lot of these big stores or a lot of places during Black Friday, you'll in fact find that the parking lots are empty. So much so that every Black Friday, Strong Towns and the Parking Reform Network host a thing called Black Friday Parking, where we encourage people to go take photos of empty parking lots on Black Friday and go, where's the rush? You built all the parking you needed. No one's here. I did that. There was like a furniture store over on Westheimer. And it was this massive parking lot. It was like me and a cop just like chilling in the parking lot, just like talking, like, where is everyone? Not at the furniture store on Black Friday. The other thing is that I kind of said this earlier, but cities are lazy a little bit and they just adopt other cities' parking mandates. Funny example is there's a city, I think in like Eastern Connecticut, that copied the parking requirements from the city in like Southern Florida. So cool, they have the same parking requirements. But then other cities in Eastern Connecticut, and then copying that city in Eastern Connecticut, so you have a bunch of cities in Connecticut with similar parking requirements, all based on one city in like Southern Florida. So apparently this one town in Southern Florida has influenced like half the state of Connecticut. It's crazy. So next. So this is what happens when you have weird parking rules in cities. Next. So your building space gets shrunk back and you have to accommodate all this space. And also, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna get to this in a second. So next, so your stores shrink, parking lots become huge, and spaces that could be homes are all of a sudden homes for people or homes for cars. Next. From a financial perspective, parking is very unproductive because they pay very little in taxes. I don't know why assessors do this. I think it's sometimes written into state law. But the way that our property tax system works is that our property tax system is 2 taxes, land tax and a building tax. As a building, a parking lot means nothing, even if it sits on valuable land. So, thanks to our friends at the Center for Land Economics, they did this really cool study in, Minneapolis. And they were able to determine the dollar per square foot that was paid in taxes. So this mixed use building, that is commercial and retail, paid about $8,100. This single family home paid about $5,300, $1.07 per square foot. And then this other single family home paid about $2,708 in property taxes. This parking lot, which takes up way more space than these three buildings, I think even combined, paid very, very little in taxes and even fewer in taxes per square foot or square feet. It's insane how much of a subsidy that you can get by operating a parking lot. And this is true also in downtown Houston as well, particularly around the Astros Stadium. There's just big empty surface parking lots. Those companies, and I'm going to get on my high horse even more for a second here, those companies are tax cheats. I'm not kidding. They pay very little in taxes. They charge you an arm and a leg to go park for an Astros game. And they are really good at moving a lot of their receipts to make it look like they don't make as much money. That's a separate issue. But anyway, from a productive land value perspective, they're sitting on very profitable land that could be used for homes, businesses, maybe even schools, whatever you can think of. And instead, it's being incentivized for parking because a couple of people knew how to con the system. And yes, I'm calling out surface parking lot owners as tax cheats. Next. So with that in mind, Donald Shoup recommended it's his three-legged stool, what he said, is three ideas for parking reform. Number one is you just get rid of the mandates. As of today, over 120 cities in the United States have gotten rid of them, and the world hasn't exploded. People still build parking. It's just they don't have to build an arbitrary amount of parking. Instead, they kind of just figure out, hey, I'm going to open a coffee shop in a residential area. Most of my customers are going to be the people that are here. And so maybe I don't have to build 20 spaces. Maybe I can build 8. I'm making up numbers, but that's what we've seen play out in other cities. And also in other cities, you start to see buildings that kind of come up that you didn't realize were missing in the neighborhood or in the community. So I think in Austin, I spoiled it. Never mind. Okay. In Austin, which by the way is the largest city in the United States that got rid of parking requirements, when they did it, they started to see more businesses kind of coming up that they just weren't expecting, like nail salons, jewelers, and like other places kind of popping up near areas that people didn't realize that they were missing those businesses, or that those businesses couldn't even operate in certain areas because of parking requirements. So Shoup next recommended that you have to charge the right price for street parking. And this is really important because parking is really a management problem. It's not a supply problem. People think, oh man, if only there was more parking, but then there's more parking. It's very likely free, including on the street. So then people just flood to the area with their cars and it's all clogged up. But Shoup recommended, listen, for street parking, what you should do is you should follow the 85% occupancy rule. That is, you charge the lowest price possible. So this is what underpriced, this is what basically you have no street meters and it's a free for all trying to find parking spaces. And by the way, when you cruise for parking, you're emitting a lot of really bad chemicals in the environment, in the air, and it takes a long time, the longer you cruise. Versus when you have right price curb parking, you charge the lowest spot to have one spot open per curb face. So that's enough to encourage turnover. There's no cruising, you don't have to wait, and you can just find a spot. Houston does do this, and kind of not really. We charge a little too low in some areas and too high in others, but hopefully we'll fix that. But you have to expand the street parking areas in the city as well as change the prices. And what you do with the money is that you develop what are called parking benefits districts. You spend the money, you basically kind of like a tourist. You put the money in a fund and they fix it, they spend it on local maintenance. So we have 3 in Houston, none east of 59. There's in the Museum District, Midtown, Washington Heights. So the meter money gets put into a fund spent by typically a management district, in Houston at least, for local infrastructure. You've been to the Museum District. The Museum District, what they do with their parking money is that they hire arborists to come trim and clean the trees. Currently, the Washington Avenue Parking Benefits District is sitting on about $375,000 of meter money that they don't know what to do with. And I've emailed Councilmember Panzarella about this. I'm like, you guys have some really good stuff you could be doing if you just knew that you had this money. They do. And so hopefully we'll see some cool projects over in the Washington Heights area. Next. So now that you've become so interested and infatuated with strong towns, what can you do to help make Houston a strong town? Next. There's a 4-step process to public investment, public improvement, in strong towns follows very carefully. Number 1 is that you have to humbly observe where people in the community struggle. Number 2 is you have to ask what is the next smallest thing you can do to address that struggle, not fix, address. Step 3 is that you do that thing, you do it right now, and then you rinse and repeat. Next. I have a few examples real quick. This is Emmanuel Nunez. He operates a nonprofit called the Tale of Two Bridges. He put up these really cool pedestrian safety islands over by the Heights Hike and Bike Trail because there were stop signs going here, but not here. And this is where the Heights Hike and Bike Trail intersects on this street, on 20th Street and Nicholson. So we set up our own flex posts and had a little concert to demonstrate, hey, this is actually really important for crossing. A lot of, parents and a lot of people with dogs and kids coming by, like, thank you for setting this up because cars were kind of slowing down as they were coming up. Next, Lindsay. If you ever find out who did this in the museum district, please give me their number. I want to say thank you. Similarly, in the museum district, there's a very dangerous intersection where there's stop signs going one way but not the other. So a very brave vigilante put up a stop sign that was non-compliant with city code. Does anyone guess why that stop sign is not compliant? Too big. What? Too big? Too small. It was too small. The city, I think, required like an 18-inch stop sign. Anyone here, feel free to correct me on that. And the person only put up a 13-inch stop sign, but it's very convincing. So cars were coming up to the intersection, stopping at the stop sign. Sure enough, we can cross the street safely, and there were fewer accidents. So the city took the stop sign out and then put a compliant one. I think that happened last year. Next. Okay, so the next smallest thing you can do is join Strong Towns. Join Strong Towns, which is a national organization, strongtowns.org. We're gonna write this down. strongtowns.org/membership. Join strongtownshouston.org. You can contact us at local@strongtownshouston.org. You can email me at rubengarza@strongtownshouston.org. Don't have to tell you all this because you guys are already in the Civic Club, so already off to a great start. And then just read the Strong Towns books. These are the titles of the 3 books. Highly encourage them. There's a lot of other books that I would also recommend taking a read, but I would just start your urbanist journey here and keep an eye out. We're doing some pretty deep advocacy, particularly on parking reform, and hopefully we'll see something from the city council fairly soon. And that's it. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Yeah, are there any questions in the crowd now?
That was a lot.
It was a lot, that's okay.
What would it take for Houston to update its minimum parking code,
Yeah, so.
modernize?
Yeah, either way, that would require an ordinance, either from the way that we normally do it via the mayor, the city council via Prop A. But, yeah, that would be the way to do it. So if you have any specific parking requirements that we find particularly egregious, you can just look at, again, 26-492. In a perfect world, I would just take that whole table and put a big red X. Don't need that. But if there's any particular ones you'd like to call out, just take a look at the table, see what the ratios are, and yeah, go from there. But yes, it would take an ordinance.
And Kyle and then Roy.
Kyle. Hey, Kyle.
So like this national urbanism thing, like big up
Yeah.
is unimproved time.
Yeah.
I kind of love that.
Yeah.
But, how long will something like that stay up in general? I mean, it's gonna be different in each individual case, obviously, but like if somebody wanted to do a bump out on, say, Cullen or the Polk or the street, if you get a green light that goes 60 miles per hour, but like How long would that stay before somebody? Yeah.
I mean, it just depends on what the project looks like. Some tactical urbanism can be as, advanced or as intricate as what Emmanuel did in the Heights with the flex posts, which are still up today, and the stop sign, which is still up today. A lot of tactical urbanism is also like, you don't have to think about it as this big project. Tactical, which by the way, all of that activity about the stop signs, that's from a concept in a book, another book I recommend, called Tactical Urbanism. So hence the term. It just depends on the materials used. And tactical urbanism ranges as low as, hey, me and a couple of buddies are pissed off about this car speeding through the neighborhood, and so we want to paint a curb out or a bulb on the area, and then it just washes away. While it's there, cars slow down, people take notice. That's another important thing about tactical urbanism. If you decide to do this and set this up, write down data. It's not that hard. Go get a speed gun and just notice the car slowing down. Send that to your city council member, let them know, hey, someone, not me, I don't know who, did this thing without city approval, don't know who did that, and the car slowed down. I don't know who did that, and I never will. But hey, cars slow down, so maybe we should dedicate some city dollars to that. And if you have a district council member, maybe it could be some of their constituent service funds. Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of fun stuff you can do with tactical urbanism.
It probably just depends on how quickly somebody reports it, is upset with it, it gets investigated. And that's probably it. Not that I'm condoning any of this.
No.
Like,
Ideally, try to get city approval on your tactical urbanism. Ideally.
Will it work with the railroads?
That will require a bit more, railroads,
That's
yeah.
a bad, no, that's a no-no.
Right.
Don't
Yeah.
do it.
But you had a question about
Yeah,
this.
sure. Do you have this, does Strongtown Houston have any, or have they been thinking about any, specific proposals to the Proposition A committee to take under consideration with respect to your, objective?
No, like rules changes for Prop A?
Well, no, I mean,
For parking.
you're gonna.
Yeah.
You're gonna approach a Prop A committee to say, we would like you to consider this.
Yeah,
If someone would take this up
yeah.
and to make this as a proposal for an ordinance.
So without naming names, we are working with a few city council members. The Prop A committee does meet September 29th. We are talking with a few city council members on some ideas, proposals, and specific draft ordinance language for the parking. Like one council member really likes the idea of reducing or eliminating parking requirements for bars because of the drinking and driving. And by the way, bars are not the only thing that in the code encourage that kind of behavior, because we also have bars and nightclubs, taverns, and restaurants. So there's a little bit of everything that requires parking where you can also grab a drink. And there's also small bars. So it's a real funky kind of thing. But anyway, so something like that is in the works and we're doing some advocacy. We will happily update this lovely civic association and all of our members and people who care once there's an actual ordinance in the Prop A committee being worked. So we can rally support.
Any other, Thomas.
Yeah.
But they look bad to see. There's a space.
Yeah.
A little bit of the headache, but there's also space to use the proper channels to advocate. Policy change. You all have a Facebook for this one, for your issue, once again. I mean, this kind of notice, it would be good for us.
Yeah.
To our various elected officials to say, what our ask, right?
Yeah.
To make it easy there. Well, we've been told, our city council. You guys have to show up to the council meeting, you have to show up, we ask.
Yeah.
Show up and.
Yeah.
Parking ordinance.
Strokes, yeah. So a lot of that's gonna be context, strokes, I know. A lot of that's gonna be context specific, but I mean, if there's things that, y'all have in mind specifically for District I, we're happy to like come back and talk and kind of go through a little more, because this is all like theory and like policy, very wonky stuff. But if there's like something specific that you guys want in mind, then I'm happy, and Strong Towns is happy to come back. We do have some other materials and playbooks and guides on like tactical urbanism, on advocacy that we're happy to share. But like, for example, if you want to do like a tactical urbanism project and you're saying like, hey, what was that intersection you're talking about, Kyle? Hey, cars are speeding through Cullen and Polk. Let's get them to slow down. Then we can all meet in spaces like this, maybe not even as part of the ECA, but just as neighbors and friends, and kind of come up with, all right, you know, someone, so-and-so go file an application with the city to try to do this, da-da-da. And if they say no, and maybe someone wants to put up traffic cones, and I'm not saying, and I'm not condoning stuff that is not approved by the city, but you know, sometimes necessity is the mother of invention, and that just happens. But anyway, that is to say, is like, there are playbooks, there are guides, there are discussions. We're part of a monthly book club that meets every Wednesday over at Empire Cafe in Montrose. We're reading a book called Happy City, but anyway, there's definitely some there. It's just we would have to come together as like a neighborhood group and kind of, you know, do the 4-step process, identify, figure out what's the next smallest thing, kind of elevate that and iterate over and over again to make it very clear to city council members, we're not going away on this issue, and we're going to keep fighting for this until we get something done.
All right, any other questions?
Yes.
Not that being about intersection of Leland and Scott,
Yeah.
that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay.
If you're going to Leland, I'm coming downtown and I can see the guy in the other direction, and I still have a red light.
Yeah.
It looks to me, and there's nobody turning left. It looks to me like there's yellow left turn blinkers there. And
Yeah.
Leland is not. I mean, if you're.
Might have something to do with the metro rail
That's
too.
not what you're talking.
No. I mean, but again,
I
that's.
can't change that, and I can't put one up myself.
Yeah, I hear you there. And I mean, again, that's just part of like, you know, we're all meeting here. We now know about this issue. I'm not too familiar with that intersection right off the top of my head, but I'm happy to go check it out. And, you know, I think we can all go check it out as an experience and recognize that, yeah, you know, this is a very frustrating thing. Maybe there should be a protected left turn or a protected turn
Well,
to.
not check. Like I said, people are coming, and I'm still having to wait for another vintage.
Mhm.
You might consider a 311 request to do like a study on that to see if it's timed properly and if there's enough traffic to warrant a change.
Could-
That might be something.
To enlighten
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
on his point, I have argued this with a specific traffic engineer that I know very well. And this happens to be,
Happen to be your son.
it happens to be on the rail line. So you're getting
That's what I'm
into.
saying. It might have
you're
something
getting
to do with the
into a
metro rail
real-
line.
A real can of worms with all of that, with all of the regulations.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but I agree with
don't
you.
Understand why railroad intersections are so much different, but they are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
They're different
agree
forms,
with you
yeah.
completely on the point that you're making, because it just makes me.
But there could be, the signal could change too.
Yeah, there could be some.
The timing could change too.
Yeah, they can
So
update the
that's-
signal time
Yeah,
priority.
you could
as
update
well.
the signal
Well,
time.
you know, they let you sit. They have, people on the other side have got to protect the left turn,
Right,
but there's nobody there.
Yeah.
almost all the
got it.
time.
Yeah, it's the
So if they
timing.
just- If they made.
Yeah, that's the time.
You would think, yeah, they
It's
can
timing.
control it by sensors and things.
There's a similar timing issue at Polk and Cullen.
Chuck Marone, the founder of Strong Towns, in a very heated podcast episode, not heated in that he was arguing with his co-host, but in fact, him and his guest, but him and the guest actually agreed so much on this that they were just kind of both just like venting. He was like, listen, in a perfect world, I would get rid of traffic lights at every intersection and just put stop signs everywhere because it gets people to slow down at the intersection and kind of pay attention to what's going on. And then, okay, you come, then I go, and da, as opposed to just having to.
Congested intersection, and that's gonna be such a.
Yeah, again, that's what he said in an ideal world, but we don't live in an ideal world.
So we're gonna say goodbye to Ruben, but
Yes.
stick around. if you
I
have
will
questions.
stick around. Yes. Thank you, Lindsay.
No, thank you. Thank you, Ruben, for coming and talking to us.
Thank you, Ruth.
And some of the things that I think about personally is that when we have new development in our areas, they sometimes will ask for parking variances to try to get away from these parking minimums. this is kind of the conversation we need to be thinking about as development comes in, right? Is what that looks like for our neighborhood and how we want to move forward, right? So just a few safety updates. Y'all know that there's been a sidewalk project happening on McKinney between Cullen and Dumble, right? The north side of McKinney, we've all been watching it. That's being done by the East End District. What y'all may not know is that there's been a few incidences with that crew specifically. They have had multiple items stolen from them. A backhoe, which I don't know how that happens, but apparently that's the second time that has happened in our neighborhood at some point. Every single time they leave their items, where they're supposed to be left because they're moving around, right? People walk by and steal them. And I'm not trying to implicate anybody here, right? That's not the case at all. We also had an unfortunate incident where somebody, while they had the lane down to one, and there was the mill and overlay, and then we had the sidewalk project, there was a drunk driver who came down that street really, really fast in their Fashion Street and hit 3 cars, right? So there's been a few incidences that are happening that we want to make sure that we keep an eye on. One is that you're going to see some more patrols around this crew that is doing the sidewalk project. It's going to be by precinct 6, so you might see them around a little bit more. That's because we're trying to prevent them from, losing their equipment, losing their power tools. Unfortunately, on one of our very hot days, somebody walked away with their cooler of drinks, right? So that's not something we want to see in our neighborhood. That's not Eastwood. And something else I just want to bring up with this is that if you see something, say something. Report it. Even if you're not sure, I can't tell you how many times people text me and tell me, I got jumped over here by Coral Sword. Did you call the police? No. I had something taken out of my garage. Did you call the police? No. I had somebody acting like this. I heard somebody screaming, sound like they were dying. Did you call the police? No. I'm like, okay. So one of the big things I hear regularly is that we want to see more patrols in our area, but if we're not calling the police, we don't have the data to back up why we need the patrols, right? So if you're calling in, even if you don't know, calling it in and saying, hey guys, something is going on. I heard somebody screaming, then it went quiet. It sounded like they died. Okay, maybe the police need to be involved in that conversation, not Lindsay. As much as I love helping y'all, I love it, but maybe the police need to be involved in that conversation, right? Same thing. If you have something taken out of your garage, you're not sure when, call the police. Let them know something was taken, right? They may not be able to do anything but that patrol, that numbers helps them guide where they're going to be doing their patrols. So with that, I don't know if you can probably see it now. It's getting a little darker outside, but I do have the Houston Police non-emergency number. This is for things like, hey, somebody took something out of my garage. I don't know when it happened, but something took it. Somebody took it. Maybe it was Jim and Dave, we don't know, right? Or you also got precinct 6 constables. So if there is an emergency, right, something very serious is going on, like threatening, call 911, then call the constable, right? Because maybe the constable can come out very, very quickly and help assist really, really quickly. So just make sure you have those numbers down. And also, I don't know if y'all know this, if you ever want to walk through it, you can request patrols from HPD. I've actually done it many times, especially when people are telling me that there's problems. I've actually called HPD and done like, what do they call those, home like alert slips where they come out and they actually patrol specific streets. If somebody reports something to me, I'll just call it into HPD South Central myself, right? Because I just want to make sure we increase that presence. We've done this with Broadmoor. We've done this all through Eastwood. Pretty much anywhere in the civic association or super neighborhood boundaries, I've called and try to get more patrols when necessary. So with that, we are, before we move into, we're going to do this and then we have a quick update from Clay, who went to our TERS meeting. Oh no, it's not that bad. So we are continuing on with our litter pickups that we are doing, and actually really fun with this. As you're walking around, you want to make sure that you are picking up just a little bit. You don't need a whole lot. It can be just a handful, 1 cup, little bags, whatever the case is. Now, I did hear some feedback from a resident in our last popping conversations that the neighborhood felt cleaner to them. So I was really happy to hear that, because that's something that we've been hearing from residents, is that we want to see a cleaner neighborhood, and everybody just taking a little bit apart. If everybody does just a little, it makes a really big difference. So there might be a gift card to Eastwood Station in your future if you win this specific contest that we're running, which ends through the end of next month. So with that, I do want to move it over to Clay, a little bit impromptu, but he knows what's going on.
Hi guys, most of you know me already. I'm Clay DeBolt. I am focusing this year with Kyle on the quality of life and kind of planting fun things that we could do to make our neighborhood a little bit nicer committee. To that effect, if you have ideas, things you would like to see improved, talk to us. We'd love to hear your ideas. We have volunteer power. We just want to know where to direct your effort, and we're happy to do so. Tonight, I missed the beginning of this meeting because we were attending the TERS 23 board meeting, which is happening tonight. And TERS, for those of you who don't know, is the tax increment reinvestment zone, which takes business money and puts it back in the neighborhood on these big financial projects that can benefit big sections of the East End. They met tonight, and one of the things that we want to report to you at the super neighborhood level was we've been having a conversation to look at the Telephone Road redevelopment project, which is going to go essentially from Fire Station 18 all the way down to Lawndale. That whole stretch of road is going to be redeveloped. I know the original plan was to have 2 lanes in each direction with a turn lane in the middle. That was kind of turned upside down about a year ago when the mayor's mobility principles kind of redesigned that on the fly. It's now going to be 2 lanes in either direction, but they are going to be improving sidewalks on both sides of the street and adding a lot of trees. When we talk to you as neighbors, one of the things we heard over and over again was we want to make sure it's safe to walk. We want to make sure that drivers aren't treating that 4-lane road like a highway, that when I drive on it, I can be safe, and that when I walk along the sidewalk, I can be safe, and that it's comfortable to use. So distilling some of that feedback, we at the super neighborhood level went and asked for an additional meeting with TERS representatives. They granted that meeting, and they actually sat us down with the engineers. So we kind of boiled all that down to a couple of points. One being shade. If you build brand new sidewalks, but there's no shade, no one's going to want to walk on it or bike on it. So they agreed, they understand that concept, and they went to the mayor's office. The mayor has approved the ability to maximize the tree and shade canopy along that corridor. So basically, one of the challenges that they're finding, though, is that if you're next time you're walking down Telephone Road, you'll notice that a lot of the power line poles are immediately above the sidewalk. And that's the area where they would be planting trees. So they can only plant trees that grow so high. They're going to be trying to tackle that to say, okay, where can we plant bigger trees where we can, and where we can't, what can we do to give shade? One of the things that we pointed out, if you've been driving downtown at all recently along Texas Avenue, you'll see they've installed some new shade structures through a Downtown Plus initiative, which are creating almost like these canopies at strategic areas along the sidewalk. And so one of the asks was, can you consider something like that where it won't grow any taller because it's the thing, it's a structure, but it can hopefully abate some of that sunshine heat that we see. And they're open to it. So they're going to develop it. They need to work with other partners to be able to say, if we build it, who's going to maintain it, who's going to keep it clean and looking nice. But those are things that they are open to working with us on. The second, I know a lot of you have attended our events at Bohemios. When we look at pedestrian safety, we were noticing that a lot of people were crossing at areas that were not marked as crosswalks. I don't know, but I feel like I've seen many of you personally jaywalk right there at Eddington on the way to Bohemios right there. There's so much in that shopping center. And we knew anecdotally, that's where people are going to try and crosswalk. They've got lots of signalized crosswalks later on down Telephone Road, but we kind of identified that spot as a place where an accident is likely to occur. They heard that feedback. They took it to the mayor's office. They said, we can't install a signalized crosswalk there, but they are open to providing something called a rectangular flashing beacon, which is essentially a designated crosswalk there at Eddington with some signs that would let you press a button and it would flash and it would alert drivers, hey, there's someone crossing here. It won't stop the traffic, but it will at least flash the lights and let them know. So if you're going to get ice cream, if you're going to get a sandwich, if you're going to go hang out, listen to music there at Bohemios, you'll have a safe way to do that, hopefully in the new designs. The last element that I do want to share is speed control. So they did not agree to the idea of raising the crosswalks higher. So you'd have like a little bit of a, not a speed bump, but kind of a raised intersection. That kind of goes against the mayor's mobility principles at the moment. So I know there's some eye rolls, and I know especially after Ruben's talk, it's kind of apropos, but it is what it is. We have to work within those boundaries. But the TERS understands our desire to slow the street down. So they're going to be doing as much as they can within their control to try and lower speeds along telephones so it doesn't feel so much like a highway. So we are getting little incremental progress to that end, and I wanted to share that with you because I know this was a big topic of concern. About a year ago, we had a big community meeting, and I want to let you know because of your ability to show up at meetings like that, we're getting progress. The other big news that came out of this meeting that ended about 20 minutes ago, I want to share that the TERS is announced they are under contract for a big piece of property at the southwest corner of Eastwood Park. The address is 4720 Capitol Street. This was something we identified as neighbors. There was a piece of property up for sale. Eastwood Park, currently this is along the railroad track there on the southwest corner. Currently, there's a big empty lot that have been for sale for a long time. We kind of flagged that for the TERS to say, y'all are spending a lot of money to redevelop the park and put new amenities in. That's going to be happening over the next year or so. So lots of progress will be coming to Eastwood Park, but that this was an opportunity to create a new doorway from the southwest so that people who live in that area along Capitol Street, they might have a way to get in instead of having to go all the way up to Lockwood and around to get into the park. The TERS was super gung-ho about the idea. They brought it up. They were able within days to get the property under contract. They still have to do due diligence, but if all goes well, Eastwood Park could be expanding its footprint, which is a really rare thing to have an urban landlocked park expand. So wanted to share that good news with you. Finally, we do have a speed control project. Earlier in the year, if anybody was here, you'll remember we asked you to rank your priorities and what you want to see. The year prior, we had done some tree planting and some landscaping beds. The thing we heard over and over again was speed control. So to that effect, we took those concerns to the TERS. They're going to try and slow down telephone as much as reasonable. But we also have opened up a new application for a good section of Eastwood to have speed cushion projects reevaluated. So specifically along McKinney Street in front of Lantrip Elementary, going all the way to Cullen, and the railroad track up to West Bell, and anything north of Polk Street, all the way to the railroad at West Bell, all the way up to Harrisburg, and all the way as far east as Lockwood is in this new development plan that we're going to be applying for to get anything in that zone looked at for speed cushions. And what I would say, if you're saying, wait, my house isn't in that zone, I would like to talk to you. If you would like to look at speed control issues in your section of Greater Eastwood, please come talk to me. The paperwork is actually very simple, and the city is putting out a call for projects now. So I would love to work with you if you see something and you would like help. Thank you.
Thank you, Clay. So hopefully this kind of shows that whenever I'm making y'all do all those Mentimeters and get all this feedback, that it's not going nowhere, right? We literally take that information back. The telephone road feedback, we probably had 100 responses from people who may not be in this room. They may be in the super neighborhood. They may be people we've met who've given feedback about it. So it's not just, it's not just Lindsay and Clay running around with an idea, right? We try to get that feedback from y'all because it's important that y'all drive what our advocacy is, not just us, right? And also because like the Civic Association cannot actually build the sidewalk, right? I know we talked about tactical urbanisms, but like we can't build the sidewalk. We can't build the raised crosswalks. We can't do these things as a civic organization. We have to work with our elected officials. We have to work with the management districts and the TERSs in order to do those types of projects, right? But we can help guide and advocate and maybe plant more trees or maybe whatever the way we decide to do in that specific area. So with that, want to move on to save the date because we are going to have our National Night Out on October 6th at 6:30 p.m. right there on the Park Street Esplanade. As y'all know, we always have a great time. We have a lot of people. We have we have the free tacos. We bring, sometimes it's ice cream, sometimes it's the popsicles, whatever the case is, we always have a great time. We're out there. We encourage you, come out, meet your neighbors, right? Because we always talk about safety and feeling safe in your neighborhoods. Another way to feel safe in your neighborhood is to know your neighbors, right? We want to know who's who. We want to know what's going on, right? It's okay to be a little bit nosy. Some people don't take it to extreme, right? We want to be just a little nosy, know what's going on in our neighborhood. So with that, y'all know I can always talk about updates, but we're not going to force y'all to listen to all of the updates. So while you're taking a look at that, there is something we do want your help on is up on the corner, we have a map of our block captains. And if you are interested in becoming a block captain and you're in one of those zones, especially a gray one, you can go talk to Kyle. Kyle, can you raise your hand real quick? Kyle. So Kyle runs our block captain program. Really, all you gotta do is you receive a text message once a month that says, hey, put out your sign. That is the minimum requirement, right? We will give you the sign too. So you just gotta put that out there. But, you know, if there's any other things that you do want to help with, we are encouraging that because we want to start building out the ability to reach out to each other, know what's going on. And this kind of falls in with some of the updates that you're going to see here, including the district's community captains program and everything here. So make sure if you have not, you can scan that QR code. You can read our Super Neighborhood newsletter and our link tree, which I always dump lots and lots of information on you. And with that, I'm opening it up for community announcements on the floor. Yes. Okay. Got it. So in case y'all didn't hear that, it's the mill and overlay project on Lawndale between Telephone and Wayside. So that is in progress right now. Perfect.
You have one, sorry to hop over. So Saturday, August 15th, and you can find this at strongtownshouston.org. Go to we're part of a parking reform coalition with some other organizations. So Saturday, August 15th from 6 to 8 p.m. Thanks to the gracious host of the Bahalim family. They live over in the Heights. We're going to have what's called a parking reform social. We're going to gather a bunch of neighborhood groups and civic leaders and organizations to kind of discuss why we care about parking reform, why we want to see it happen in Houston, what can we do to make that happen. So if you find parking reform interesting, if you want to support the idea, support the coalition, we invite you to come to the parking reform social. You can RSVP on the website. We have a Luma link that can help you secure your RSVP, attend that, and hope to see y'all there.
Any other announcements from the floor? Yes. I don't, but I can dig around and see what I can find. Uh-oh, here comes Clay. He's got an eye. I don't know, because that one's concrete. I don't know. We'll find out though.
That's something we'll put on our to-do list to check in on. I did have an announcement that I learned through Victoria Macalino, who's with the Eastwood District, about the McKinney Sidewalk Project. A lot of you have been looking and saying, why is that section not done when it's, been weeks and weeks? There are portions of the sidewalk where they have left it open because there are tree grates, like actual metal plates that will protect the tree roots. Those take a lot longer to be ordered. And so if you see a big gap in the sidewalk, it's not that they forgot to pour the concrete, it's that they're trying not to pour concrete on top of tree roots. So that's the good news. They're gonna be good for the trees. The bad news is it's probably up to 4 to 8 weeks out before those rates come in. So they're asking for some patience there. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just letting you know what I learned tonight is that they're waiting on materials to come in. There's also going to be a new amenity that we haven't had before, which is there are little blocks that when you're going down a ramp, there are bumps. So that if you have a cane and you are visually impaired, it will actually alert you that you're coming up to a street. There are little squares that are cut out and they're waiting on some of those parts to come in. So that's why you'll see special parts of the sidewalk that are missing. And the last part is they are going to be putting in street names for the cross streets. So McKinney and Dumble, McKinney and Cullen, you're actually going to be able to read those street names, and those are coming in later piecemeal. So that is the update on materials for the sidewalk project. The good news is they said there's not a lot of work left to be done east of Lockwood Street. So basically from Lockwood all the way to Little Danny's, that whole side of the street is only going to take, it's mostly concrete pour. So, and they've done a lot of the demo. So if you live between Lockwood and Little Danny's, they probably will have that work wrapping up within about 2-3 weeks if all goes well. Perfect.
And just remember, y'all, that was supposed to end in October. So if we get this done in the next couple months, that would be pretty awesome, I think. So get that. How often do y'all hear contractors finish in advance, right? Any other announcements before we adjourn for the evening? All right, perfect. So with that, we're going to go ahead and officially adjourn. If y'all have any questions, we'll hang around for a little bit. And I do have a really nice big favor to ask. If you really strong guys want to take some chairs back and put them at the tables, I will be, and women. y'all want to take chairs back, I would be super appreciative. Thank you so much this evening, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you.